His first one was, what's your definition of good music?
My definition of good music, well, I'd say that would change from person to person. You know, I think good music is music that moves you and challenges you in some way. It can be intellectually, it can be emotionally, it can be, you know, it doesn't have to be all of those ways, but in a way, I think is good music.
Second was, now let me see, yeah. On your new album, you do some traditional songs, although I just found 2 or something like that. But that's his question. What do you like on traditional music?
I like the fact that folk music or traditional music it speaks to the human condition. It's a very deep well, and I think that a good folk song will always be relevant because some things never change in the way we live.
How was it working with Timo and Burnett?
It was great. Very supportive environment and very trusting environment, and sort of, I guess you say, velvet covered steel. Like, you know, he knows what he wants, but he's very, he sets high expectations, and so you have to bring those, you know, but he's very supportive in how he creates the space for you to do that.
And the last is this the end of the Carolina Chocolate Drops?
No, that's the short answer. The longer answer is they are actually touring this record with me, and we're working on the next project, sort of as we go. So it's too important to leave behind.
Very good.
Yeah. No worries.
That was it.
Yeah.
Nice start.
Okay.
Let me start with, when I first listened to that record, I thought this is a wonderful record from a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Then I looked through the songs and I noticed something which made me, well, query. Songs from Dolly Parton, Patsy Cline, Miss Wiley, to go back to Mississippi.
Yeah.
There's Odetta. And there is Charles Aznavour, which you said this is my main thumb in it.
Well, Nina Simone. It's Nina Simone's interpretation. It's his song, but yeah.
Yeah, I found it's only woman song on that record. But as I read that, Charles Aznavour, Nina Simone, of course, I listened to both. And then listened to yours and found yours is more like Aznavour. Why is that so?
I don't know. I listened to the interpretation that inspired me was Nina doing a live version of it in London, 1968, and it's on YouTube. And she does it that slow. You know, it's beautiful. And she didn't record it that way. It was more, you know. So I was very disappointed when I went to the iTunes and downloaded it, you know, because I like to buy music, you know. So I downloaded it and I went, ugh, why, you know? And so I just kept watching the YouTube, and so I wanted to record it that way. I wanted to sort of pay homage to that version, but I'm also not Nina Simone. And so the intensity that she brings, I bring in a different way. And maybe as a result, it harkens back to, you know, that other feel. But yeah, it started with her taking it down to that tempo, actually.
I just listened to the other version. Where is that? Why is that?
Yeah.
That version
the fast one.
Yeah, the fast one. I said, this one inspired her to sing it that way.
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. No. So that's it's still coming from Nina. It's still her. I was just so disappointed that she didn't record it that way. It's just, I think it's if you've not seen that video, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I have to look that up.
It's intense. Like
I
it's.
just fiddled through my records.
Yeah.
And found that one where
Yeah.
it's on. So.
Yeah, that's why I'm so grateful for YouTube. I mean, technology is a pain, but like I would have never seen that.
That's true.
Yeah.
The good thing about technology is even here in Germany we can get records from the Carolina Chocolate Drops, which were never released in Germany.
Oh well, I didn't have anything to do about that. Now.
I know.
Yeah.
No, it's to mention Don Flemons.
Mm-hmm.
His solo is the journey through the south of the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
through the blues versions, through genres. Yours is a journey through modern, starting with the 1920s,
Mm.
American, not only folklore or traditional music, but to songs, singer-songwriters as well.
Mm.
With your history as one of the members of the Carolina Chocolate Drops, everybody was expecting, I think, a traditional record.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose not to do a traditional one?
Well, I've spent 10 years doing traditional records with the Chocolate Drops, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. I mean, I'm so proud of the work that Dom and I and Justin and all of the Chocolate Drops who've come along the way have done. But I'm 37, and I was 36, I suppose, when I recorded the record, and I just wanted to do what was right at the moment, which was these songs. I didn't go to Carole King and Joni Mitchell, and what I mean. I still kept it for me, very within sort of my wheelhouse at the moment. But I find that for me the interesting thing is not just this particular period of history, but the connection between the past and the present, and that that time, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. That's a really vibrant time for American music and women in Americana, and I just that interested me. Not to mention just the songs I was interested in. Just that's where they came from. But I didn't start with where should I be. I just started with where am I, and that's where the songs came from. So.
With one traditional song on that record, Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair,
Mm-hmm.
You rewrote the lyrics.
I did, yeah.
Is that you have to invent tradition every day new?
No, it's just a part of tradition, really, rewriting things. I mean, it's been done for however long. I mean, songs have been rewritten to suit the occasion since we've been writing songs. I couldn't find a version that I liked, and I didn't want it to be a sad song. All of the traditional versions of that end, it's crying and weeping and mourning, and I just said, there's enough of that on the record. I want to do something. I love the love part of that song, and so I kind of riffed on that, and I was like, well, this is part of the tradition, so I'm safe.
With a lot of these songs, you like love. With a lot of the songs on the record, you like love. Is that the main thing in your life, love?
No, I mean, it's just, of course, it's the basis of all relationships, but like I said, those are the songs that were speaking to me at the moment, and that's what we did. So, yeah.
Did Tibor and Burnett interfered and said, no, do this song or that song?
A little.
Did he suggest something?
Yeah, I mean there was a couple I think that but for the most part the core of the songs are ones that I chose, and he suggested a Dolly Parton song. The "Don't Let It Trouble Your Mind" is his suggestion. I had suggested another Dolly Parton song that I wanted to do, and it was the right decision. Like, I had never heard this one, and I said, "Oh, that's a better fit," for the record. And he suggested "Last Kind Word Blues," but I already knew the song, so I was, yes. And then he wanted me to put Angel City, which is the only original composition. He wanted to put that on the record because I had written that after the Basement Tapes project, and he said, "Let's put it on your record." And I hadn't thought about doing it, so I just had written it, So yeah, he made the changes that I think were the right ones, but the core of the choices were mine.
The working together with Steve Burnett, did it start with Another Day and Another Time? Or was it before that?
It was technically before that. I contributed a couple of songs. One that made it to the final of the music, the companion soundtrack to the Hunger Games, the first Hunger Games movie. So that was my first time working with him, for the day, was recording those songs. And and then sort of, I guess, he'd kept up with what we were doing and invited me to come out and do Another Day, Another Time.
The Another Day, Another Time, it really, what's the word for it, flawed me or something like that when you're singing Irish.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, I said, I trade 10 Irish singers for Rhiannon Giddens.
Well, it's...
Where did you learn to sing like that, like an old Irish woman?
Well, it's interesting. That's kind of a part of my history that I guess comes out a little bit here and then. And it's Scots Gaelic, so it's the Scottish, version of Gaelic. But I got into that as a, as a beginning sort of folk musician. My name is Welsh, and I've just always been sort of a little interested in sort of Celtic, that world, and so fell into Scottish music and really loved it. And I became really good friends with a Gaelic speaker who's got a PhD in Celtic studies, really knowledgeable guy. So I learned a lot about the real history, not the fake history, the kilts and bagpipes. I mean, that's a part of it, but I learned about the real history of the culture, and I just really loved it. And it reminded me a lot of the old walking, the women, singing these songs. Listen to all these old recordings, and it reminded me a lot of the powwow singing that I used to do, as a teenager. I used to do, we'd go to powwows, and I was part of a drum and all this stuff. But it really connected in my mind. It's so interesting. These different, Indians in America and Gaelic women in Scotland, tapping into this sort of vocal thing, and that really interested me, so it got me even more into it. And so I'd been working on that piece for a long time because it's difficult. Mouth music is very difficult. So, and then I just thought, I was working with, Layla McCalla had come into the band, and she's a Haitian American, and we had been I've been wanting to do that piece, and she started putting these kind of bluesy things in it, and it just made me sort of go into this totally different direction. And so it was really great to be able to do that, because I kind of feel like I'm always interested in how cultures interact, and there's a lot of that happened in North Carolina. A lot of Scots moved to North Carolina, and there of course were blacks there, and there's this cultural interaction. So I like to do this sort of imagination thing and just kind of take it to a different place, and what if I added sort of bluesy, scatty things to this mouth music, so.
Well, I was just sitting there listening and
But it's a part, that's the thing, it's a part of the history that doesn't get talked about. Like these, people talk about the sort of Irish influence on country music and stuff, but nobody talks about, black people who spoke Gaelic in North Carolina. They were there, and I always go, what was the music like back then? What happened? What did they do? So it's just this kind of great mental, and then it turns into, whatever the music does.
So why didn't you put one of these songs on this record as well?
Well, we recorded that.
Ah.
And it's a live song. You know, it kind of died in the studio. We've tried to record it twice now, actually. I did it with the Kronos Quartet, and it just didn't have life that we were looking for. It would have taken a long time to figure out how to capture that. So maybe one day, but it's nice to have the live recording from Town Hall.
You have one.
Hmm?
You have one live recording.
They've released it, yeah. They released it as a CD, the songs from that show. So
coming back to this record, you seem very busy. You're on the late shows, going around. You have the Prairie Home Companion, was a very special host.
Yep.
And I watched it.
Yeah, did you?
I did.
Yeah.
Aren't you fed up? And now you're in Germany. I mean, weekend you've been on the Prairie Home Companion. 3 days later you were here in Germany.
Yeah.
Doing interviews the whole day long.
Yeah.
Aren't you bored or fed up with all that stuff?
Oh my God, no. No, this is just the beginning. Ask me in 10 years, you know?
Honest.
No, honestly, I talk about this because I feel like, you know, when you sign up to be a musician, a full-time musician, you know, this is part of it. You know, it's like, why don't you want the opportunity to say what you want to say about the music and have these conversations? You see, I'm coming from a different place. I'm not coming from, well, when I was 5, I joined, you know, it's like I'm coming from slavery and minstrelsy and all this really difficult stuff when you talk about the Carolina Chocolate Drops. So talking about my solo record, you know what I mean? This is like, oh, this is fun. You know, it's like I'm used to talking about, you know, really difficult things. And so I feel like if I can't, you know, do this part of my job, then I don't need to be a musician because this is part of it. You know, it's important. You want people to know why you chose the songs. If you can say a bit of information that maybe somebody will know more about, or maybe they'll go listen to Sister Rosetta Tharpe or whatever, you know, why not take the opportunity? So am I tired? Yes. Am I tired of it? No. You know, and that's honest. I'm a pretty honest person, you know. And like I said, ask me at the end of the year and I might be a little ready for a break, but this is the beginning of the whole journey, you know. The tour hasn't even started yet, so, you know.
But once in your life you wanted to become an opera singer. As an opera singer you wouldn't have to do so many interviews.
That's true. You know, but I'd be locked into one kind of thing, you know, and that's what led me away from opera, was that when you're an opera singer, that's what you do. You sing opera, you practice, you study your parts, and you sing opera, and it's beautiful. And people who do it, I love it. I just saw a soprano, you know, a few weeks ago in concert, and I enjoyed it, you know. And I miss it. I love classical singing, and I love the drama, and I loved the acting and the costumes. I did love all of that. But to do that, you have to commit to it. And I just find that I'm the most engaged when there's all of these things. I have like 4 different projects going, you know. And to me, that's what I need personally. And I think that's what I bring. There's a bunch of fantastic sopranos out there, as good or better than me when I was, you know, just coming out. Way better than me now because I'm out of practice. But you know, what I'm particularly doing is kind of unique, and I think that's, you know, we're all here for a reason, you know. And I think you find your purpose, and I think I found my purpose, you know. But I still love it.
Well, I'm quite sure that once in your life you will do Porgy and Bess.
I wouldn't turn it down, no. It's not my favorite show, but like the music is beautiful.
I can imagine it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're singing Summertime.
Oh, yeah. I have sung Summertime in my day. Yeah, I mean, you know, I have this project of Black Broadway music that's very classically influenced, you know, from the turn of the century that I'm working on. And I hope to get that up and running someday because it's really interesting. It's just... it's actually, you know, music for the stage written by Black composers, and, you know, rather than Porgy and Bess is great, but it's not a Black musical. You know, it's about Black people. But, and And so I'm really interested in that's the thing, I'm able to sort of try to get these things going in a way that I couldn't if I was doing a full-time, opera career. But I'm hoping that, hoping to get to. I've actually performed 3 of those songs with orchestra this past year. So it's coming bit by bit.
Should have done this with a video, seen your face with us. It's really glowing.
Yeah.
Your eyes are sparkling.
It's exciting stuff.
But this leads back to this record as your main interest, I'd say, is the history of the musical history of the black people.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got 2 white singers doing Dolly Parton and Patsy Cline.
More than that, Gene Ritchie, Oh Love Is Teasing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's my interest is yes, there's a big focus on the black side of things because that's where so much history has been sort of mishandled, But my actual, and this is why the record is a mixed record, is I'm mixed. American music is mixed. And that's really important. It's important to say not, that black people invented XYZ. It's that American music is at its beginning, foundation from, even plantation music was affected by European, styles. You had black fiddlers and banjo players playing for the white dances, going back and playing for their own dances. It has been, the banjo is not an African instrument, it's an African American instrument. The cultures of black, of African and Europe syncretization, not, of that in the Caribbean. I mean, it is a Creole culture, and that's important. That's important to me. So it's important to me that, Dolly Parton is next to Nina Simone, is next to Patsy Cline, is next to Gene Ritchie, next to Geeshie Wiley, because that is American music. You had, these sort of white country singers like learning from black players, and you had black players being influenced by white. I mean, it is American music. And so what I say is that when you take the history of the black contribution out of these things, then it's lopsided. It's wrong, because it is a partnership of obviously, power and profit being mostly weighted on the white side. But in terms of a cultural mix, it's a mixture. And so that was really important to me. And that's something that we've been very, very open about in the Chocolate Drops, to give credit where credit is due, and not say we're taking back the banjo. No. The banjo belongs to everybody. But let's put the history back where it belongs, and let's, have this out there so that people in the black community don't look at it as a foreign instrument. They look at it as a home instrument. Whether they want to play it or not, doesn't matter. But, so this record is really an outgrowth of that. I mean, I'm a mixed person. I'm culturally mixed in terms of, how I was raised. And so that's something that I've always sort of had an eye on, is what makes America, America, really. It's just, there's no exaggeration there. It's just, that is this, so.
But
it's important.
That leads to the question, does music has any color at all?
Yes. See, I don't believe in colorblind. I believe in not letting it matter. You cannot, I believe that
because you're American to me, as a German or European, actually I don't care.
And that's fine. That's fine.
I don't think about a blues singer, he's black.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a blues singer.
Yeah, to you, which is fantastic. But when you have the, I think there is a big difference between seeing color and not caring, and pretending that you don't see color. You cannot pretend not to see color, because we as humans, it's not even a country thing. As humans, we are hardwired to see the other as the other. That's how we are hardwired from the very, very tribes. That's why we have tribes and not this one human race. No, my tribe, your tribe is different. You're over there, we're over here. The early names of people, it's always our people, your people. That's a human tendency, but it doesn't mean that it can be negative. It's just a fact. So I see a black person, I see them as a black person. But then what do you do with that information? Do you draw conclusions about that person? Do you then think, oh, they're going to do XYZ because they're black? That's where we get into problems. You see that person and you go, oh, that's just a part of who they are. And like you said, it doesn't matter. Fantastic. But you can't say you don't see it. That's my issue with color blindness, because I feel like it's false. You know, there's nothing wrong with seeing color. I think what's wrong is caring about it or drawing conclusions about people based on color. That's where we get into trouble. But me being a mixed race person is part of who I am. And if you pretend not to see that, then I'm like, well, that's part of who I am. You know, my upbringing, you know, the black community, the white community, whatever, it is what it is. And I don't want you to then be surprised that I talk well because you know what I mean? That's the next step. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense.
But actually, I was just thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're right in a way, but I don't want to insult you now.
Mm-hmm.
But sitting here, just watching you, talking with you, is I don't see you as a black person. I see you just as a beautiful woman,
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful musician.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see color. Maybe I'm colorblind.
Well, you know, and that's
it doesn't matter to me, and of course I see that your skin is a little shadier than mine is.
and
Wait till the sun comes.
I will say you have the privilege of not caring. I will say that.
Yeah.
You know, not only as a non-American, you know, but as a white person, because you are, you know, like to the way that we have decided to talk about race. That, you know what I mean? And it's all a construct. Race is a construct. It absolutely is. It's false. But we've decided to live that way. And so you have to deal with certain realities. And that is an issue that I have with that sort of that notion in the States in particular, because of the history of racism, not only racism, institutionalized racism, where it gets even beyond a personal idea of what's black and white. It's built into the very system. So to say, well, I don't see color, well, I'm going to guarantee you that there's not one person of color in America who's ever going to say that, because their life is defined by how they look. And does that suck? Yeah. Is it fair? No. But it's just the reality of it. So that's why I like to approach it from, let's see color, let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate your whiteness, your blackness, your culture, you know, because the other part of that is that, you know, then you have white people saying, well, I don't have a culture. Yeah, you do. You have an incredibly rich culture. You have this American culture, wherever you came from. Really, it's about, you know, where you come from, your socioeconomic status. That's the stuff that gets really confused when we start talking about race. But we have to talk about it because it's there, you know, especially in America. You know, I can only speak for America because that's where I'm from. And it is such a unique part of American history because of the way the country was founded and the way, you know, even, I mean, we could talk about institutionalized racism today. We could talk about Jim Crow laws today. I mean, this is not all in the past. I mean, there's plenty of it going on right now. And so I just think it's important to recognize but not define. You know, you shouldn't define somebody by their race, but you have to recognize it because there's a large portion of the population that has to deal with that reality every day. You know what I mean? But I hear what you're saying, you know, and I don't want to poo-poo that because that's your reality. But I'm just saying, you know.
I think it's only my reality.
And
I don't think other people would say the same.
Right.
It's just me. Because when I think back on Thunder 2 years back, where the Carolina Chocolate Drops, three wonderful musicians.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the color.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Which is, it was great. We all need to strive for that. But like,
you see, I had
you know.
a colleague been doing those programs on Americana, and a couple of years ago, when one of these soul singers did a national record, he said, "Now the black people are getting into country music." He never
getting into country music. Okay.
Yeah. I said to him, "Have you ever heard about the guy that was 1923 in the Opry?"
Yep.
He was black, real black.
Yeah.
And I think this is, that's why I say it's not important the color, it's the music.
Well, ultimately, the music is
And your music,
you know.
of course, here with otherwise you couldn't do classic line or you don't look at colors really in some ways yourself.
Well, it's like, you know, it's like I said, I know the history. See, I know that the history of the music is mixed, you know, and so it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, it's like, yeah, Patsy Cline, yeah, Nina, yeah, because the history is mixed, and so we should be able to do whatever that we damn well please. I think we get too stuck in these genres, you know, we get stuck in these, you know, what's blues and what's jazz and this is pop and this is this, you know, and that's all, it's all about profits, record companies, and, you know, this, you know, the easily commodified commercialism of music, you know, and I think it's much more interesting when you get down to that stuff doesn't matter, you know, you have to know about it. It's like I said, you know, you may see it, but it shouldn't matter. Like, and so when I see, you know, oh, that's technically a country song, it doesn't matter to me because I know where it comes from, you know? So it's all the same to me. To me, a record that people describe as far-ranging as mine would have like emo on it and electronica and, you know, hard rock and you know, one-string fiddle music from Honduras. That's wide-ranging. To me, this is not that wide-ranging if you know the history of American music. So, you know, I don't know.
Your own song is very slow,
Mm-hmm.
in a way. It has some, what's the word for it? I won't say melancholy.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than that.
Mm.
It's an optimistic melancholy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you a what's the word?
Melancholic,
person?
I guess.
Melancholic,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
melancholic
Mm-hmm.
person.
No, but I don't mind going there when I need to. You know, there's a lot that's melancholic about American music and history, you know? So, but it's important to, and that's what we've always, you know, the Chocolate Drops have always gone to, is it's important to, it might start in sadness, but it's important to go to joy if you can, you know? Because you don't want to stay there. You can't stay there. We have to keep going forward, you know? And this song was, it was about my own process and about my own experience and, you know, one of the few that I've written about myself, you know? I'm usually writing about other people. And, you know, we're none of us alone, you know? And that's the point of it really, is that, you know, you can be in this space, but it's the people who help you on the way that help you get out of it. You can't do it on your own, you know? And so there is a joy in that. But it is tempered because it's like, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to accept help and to, you know, just be in a vulnerable place. So you have to, it's delicate. So, I mean, I didn't think of all this when I was writing it. I just wrote it, you know? But I think that's kind of around, I think that's, you know, how that arrangement and the way I did it sort of come about, really.
Do you think that the low songs are your favorites? Because I think you're very strong when you're doing these kind of songs.
Mm.
That you're beautiful when you're doing, let's say, the Irish again.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of life in it. And,
Mm-hmm.
But are you a bluesy person?
I think there are these connections that you find with the music that you do, and they're not all the same. You know, the connections that I have to Celtic music is different than the connections I have to blues music. You know, I mean, blues music is a little bit more of a personal thing for me because I have memories of my grandmother singing around the house, and you know, these sorts of sort of visceral. When I do the Celtic music, it's a little bit more, I mean, I connect to it in an emotional way, but it's a little more cerebral, you know? But I think that the blues music is definitely more, there's a more visceral sort of reaction to it. And so it sits in a different place, I think. So that might be what you're hearing, I don't know. But and maybe someday I connect to the different, you know, I'll connect to it differently, I don't know, but that's where it is now. There is this sort of feel of history there when I sing that stuff, you know.
Now, so to conclude all this, I think we should mention one thing. What do you miss most now? Now we can mention your child.
What do I miss? What do you mean?
As you did, actually, I think like it's the color of Matrilla's hair. You rewrote it for your husband.
Mm-hmm.
So you miss him.
Oh, of course I do. You know.
Why don't you take him with you?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, my daughter. When my daughter was born, we were on tour as a family for 2.5 years in a very small car, and then they took a break, and I kept touring. And then my son was born, and I took him with me everywhere. And I was nursing, you know, so these are the decisions that you make. But now my daughter's school age, so she's in school. So this is it's different for all of us because, you know, I'm used to having them with me, and now this is the first year that I've really been going back and forth. And they're based in Ireland, so, you know, that's why this trip is possible, because I go back there instead of back to the States, you see. This is the life I've chosen. And they're coming on tour with me in the spring and summer. So you make it work as best you can. And my daughter's enjoying school. She's learning Irish in school. And so she'll have a different relationship to it, you know.
Such a lucky person.
You know, I mean, we make this life. You know, when I met my husband and when we decided to start a family, I said, this is what I do, you know, and we sort of had this agreement that he understood that, and, you know, he's a piano technician, and he said, look, I can be a piano technician when I'm 60, like, this is now, so, but we talked about it, and we made our life, you know. We said, we're going to take her on the road. I don't know how that's going to happen, but we're just going to do it, you know, and, you know, I'm lucky that I have a great partner in life, and that I recognized him for a great partner, you know, and so.
You're not coming to Germany for a tour?
I hope so. Yeah, we don't have our European tour set up yet, so, but I know that they're working on it, and I'm pretty sure that Germany's going to be a stop. So it's definitely a place we have not come to enough. You know, with Chocolate Drops, we only came to, you know, three cities. But no, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a stop. So.
Okay then, thanks for taking your time.
You're welcome.